Wow. A full year of comic strip reviews. I've talked about my personal favorites, industry giants, little-known underdogs, met cartoonists, attended my first convention. I never thought I'd be doing any of that. Happy first birthday, Punchline. Let's get this show on the road. Hello and welcome to the Punchline. I'm your comic strip critic. The Reuben Awards are coming. Okay, you know what? That is it. I have had it with all these little things interrupting my show. Text! Come here. You're gonna stop this stuff from now on. I've had enough of it. Oh, what am I gonna do about it, he says. What am I gonna do about it? Change font. Comic Sans. Enter. Are you gonna behave then? Alright, then go and sulk in the corner. Anyways, the Reuben Awards. Last year, I announced the winners of the Reuben Awards after the ceremony had already happened. This year, however, I'm a bit more like Batman in that this time, I'm ready for it. This year's winners of the Reuben Awards for the newspaper comics section are Glenn McCoy's The Duplex and Mark Parisi's Off the Mark. Congratulations, guys! I've never heard of either of these strips. Yeah, I'm not gonna let that happen again. So, the next few episodes of the Punchline are going to be dedicated to taking a look at all the nominees, breaking them down, and casting my personal vote as to who should win. So, let's not waste any time. Here we go. These are the nominees for the National Cartoonist Society Reuben Awards of 2012. At the Reuben Awards, it's important to note that there are two different kinds of newspaper comics that are being awarded here. There's Best Newspaper Comic Strip and Best Newspaper Comic Panel. We'll be going over the Best Newspaper Comic Strip this week. And like I said, there are 3 nominees, but we've actually already looked at one of them here on the Punchline before. So let's start off with that one again. I've already spoken at length about Jerry Scott and Jim Borgman's collaborative effort to explore the teenage years. In fact, I've spoken about it twice before, once in the main review for it, and again when I named it the 4th best comic of 2012. It's a good strip. Good characters, detailed and imaginative artwork, and a creative force that understands its characters without demonizing either teenagers or parents. It's a good system. But is it still good in 2013 so far? Of course it is. What, do you think the strip's quality took a massive nosedive over just the past 90 days? It's still a good strip. Interestingly, it's also the youngest of the 3 nominees, making its debut in 1997. The next strip is the youngest of the 3, and might be what happened if Jeremy were ever allowed to graduate high school and go through college. Meet Dustin. Dustin Kudlick is a 23-year-old college graduate who moved back in home with his parents because he can't find a job in the current economy. Well, this already hits uncomfortably close to home. Yeah, this is definitely a strip that reflects the modern times. Cartoonist Steve Kelly created the strip very recently. It only made its debut in 2010, and it won a Reuben just a year later. Dustin continually bounces from temp job to temp job, while also trying out a number of get-rich-quick schemes, all of which naturally fail. Most of the humor comes from all of Dustin's different jobs. For example, he was just the Easter Bunny a short while ago, and was in a pet store a while before that. But we also get some scenes with his parents, too. Wilma Flintstone, Helen Kudlick, is the host of a call-in radio show, and Ed is a highly successful general practice lawyer. We don't see them at their jobs a ton, more often in situations at home like this one. Okay. In the past, I've praised cartoonists who let the implications present in their artwork do a lot of the work for them. I fully believe that what you don't see can be just as funny, if not funnier, than what you actually do see. However, it's a double-edged sword, because it can make moments like this one much more horrifyingly, mind-scarringly terrifying. 3 months expired. It's worth it. My eyes, they burn! Oh, it wasn't worth it! Anyways, mind-scarring implications aside, Dustin's pretty good. It reminds me of Zits a fair bit, often because we watch the younger Dustin contrasting with his parents or his agent at the temp agency. Wikipedia lists Dustin's dad and sister. Oh, right, I forgot to mention, Dustin has a sister. She doesn't appear a ton in the strip for some reason, at least not in 2013 so far. Her name's Megan. I thought I got rid of all you video clips that keep interrupting my show. Stay out and don't come back! No, not yet. Go sulk in your corner some more. Anyways, my final verdict on Dustin? Thumbs up. It's a good strip for the times and I can tell that some real effort has been put into it. Now then, that's 2 strips down with 1 left. I was planning on saving this final strip for a canine month someday, but oh well. Circumstances intervene sometimes. What is this final strip? Well, Red Rover, send Red and Rover on over. It wasn't really a pun, it was more of a, whoa, okay, I'll stop. This is Red and Rover. Just put the gun down, man, we're cool, I love your strip. Created by Brian Bassett and first appearing in the year 2000, Red and Rover is pretty different from both Zits and Dustin. Unlike the other best comic strip contenders, Red and Rover centers on a much younger boy. Meet Red, age 10. Rover is naturally his dog, a Labrador of some kind. Taking place in the 60s or 70s at some point, Red and Rover are pretty much an inseparable duo. What's interesting about this setup is that Rover talks to Red and Red actually understands him. These two talk to each other and understand each other, and it reveals a very good relationship between the two. In this strip, dog really is man's best friend. It's actually kind of a simple setup, but there's a sweetness and an innocence to the whole thing that I just find really, really charming. And that sweetness and innocence reminds me of whose voice I would borrow whenever I voice over one of Rover's strips.
I was hiding under your porch because I love you. Can I stay? Alpha? I am not Alpha, he is... Oh...
A dad snowman giving his snowboy a big fat raise in his allowance? Guilt's a powerful emotion, and dad should be home soon. I promise not to overuse it. Maybe. Possibly. No guarantees. The boy and his dog setup reminds me a bit of Calvin and Hobbes, with both featuring a young boy and the pet he talks to. Heck, Red even pretends a cardboard box is a spaceship so he can go to the moon. Sounds a bit familiar, but that's not a bad thing at all. While Calvin and Hobbes was much more fantastic and otherworldly, Red and Rover is much more realistically grounded. There's a bit of a nostalgic feel to this strip's world of a happier, simpler, more innocent time. I do like it, but I kind of wish there was a bit more here. Don't get me wrong, what's there is really good and happy and enjoyable, but I feel it's a little shallow. We don't see much of Red's family, for instance. He's got an older brother, but he's made only 1 appearance so far in 2013, and his parents haven't appeared much more beyond that. I feel there's some missed opportunity and some good potential there for some strong character relationships and good moments between Red and his parents, or Red and his brother, or his brother and his parents. But you know what? It's still a really enjoyable strip, and it just made me feel happy to read about a boy and his dog. So, those are our 3 nominees. Okay. Now that we've taken a look at all 3 of our potential candidates, it's time to pit them against each other and see which one should walk away with the Reuben Award in late May. First off, I want to say that all 3 of these are actually pretty good strips. There's not a bad one in the mix. There's no Mama, there's no Garfield, which I'm thrilled to see and I hope is a sign of good things to come. With that being said, let's take a look at Dustin and Zits and pit them against each other, since they're so similar in nature. Which one of these is the superior strip? Well, as enjoyable as Dustin is, I do feel that Zits is the better of the 2. The artwork is a bit more detailed and is sometimes used to tell a story or joke in place of written dialogue, which takes advantage of the fact that comic strips are first and foremost a visual medium. The slightly larger cast of Zits also means that more relationships exist, which in turn increases the potential for dramatic and humorous moments. As I've said in the past, Zits also feels very authentic in how it portrays teenagers. Dustin, well, he's supposed to be 23 years old, but I never really got the sense that he was 7 years older than Jeremy. I would expect him to worry about some more adult things from time to time. Is he worried about moving out? Finding a stable job? Finding a steady girlfriend? Dustin's love life falls into the classic archetype of unlucky in love guy who embarrasses himself around women all the time, which is never a trope that I've liked. We've seen it a million times and it's just kind of old at this point. Giving Dustin a steady recurring girlfriend could make for some interesting stories. Zits has the relationships and characters to make a deeper, more engaging strip. Point goes to Zits. Now then, how does it fare against Red and Rover? This one's quite a bit tougher. I really like the overall feeling of innocence and happiness that permeates Red and Rover. It's a very simple strip about a boy and his dog, and there's a sense of heart to it that I love. It's a throwback to carefree childhood times without any of the snarkiness or grumpiness of the teenage years. But that simple nature also means that it's not a very deep one, which can be fine. Maybe simpleness is all that's needed to make a comic good. Like I said, this is actually a pretty tough choice here. Ultimately, in the end, I think that the winner of the Reuben Award is the one that best demonstrates the power of the newspaper comic strip as a potential art form. And going by that criteria, I'm going to have to choose Zits. The complex relationships between Jeremy and his parents, teachers, friends, and girlfriend prove that we can still get deep personalities and character interactions in only 3 or 4 panels a day. More importantly, though, is the fact that the artwork in Zits carries just as much power as the writing. If you remove Jim Borgman's art and are left with just a textual description, there are still relationships, but seeing the stylized artistic jokes adds a whole new level to the work that is only possible in the medium of newspaper comic strips. Therefore, I'm casting my vote for Zits as the best newspaper comic strip Reuben Award winner. Does that mean that I think Dustin and Red and Rover are bad strips? No, not at all. They're both good. I just think Zits is a little more deserving of the Reuben Award this year. Next episode, we'll be taking a look at the nominees for Best Newspaper Comic Panel and breaking those down and going over them. Until then, I'm your comic strip critic, and I read the funny pages in the hope that someday they will be.